Here we are in the Corning, New York office where our trip started. Typically, we'll start in one of two offices. When we start in the Corning office, we usually make a swing around, visit clients, customers, and we end up in Pittsburgh. This particular time, we started in Corning, New York, and we ended up in Corning, New York. We visited some customers in Cleveland, then we rocketed up to Detroit and went to the Automate show. The Automate show was well attended, lots of exhibitors. There must have been probably 10,000 people a day that went through there for 4 days. The room was electric. A lot of energy, a lot of noise. As a matter of fact, this video was scheduled to be filmed at the Automate show. It was just too noisy. So here we are, quiet surroundings, and hopefully everything goes well. And on the wall behind me, you should see a Kawasaki robot. And when I saw this robot, I was quite impressed because it was different than all the other robots. And perhaps some of you robotic guys that are watching this can see the difference. It was huge. I think it's 1,300 kilograms of capacity, and it was built as a precision robot, and that's the hint. So if you can pick out the differentiator, the hint is precision robot, and you can comment below. So that's the first takeaway. There's a lot of automation people, and it's all being driven by the onshoring where manufacturing is coming back into the US. The second takeaway was one of my favorite sayings: too many dogs chewing on the same bone. So there were a lot of robots there, hundreds of robots there, all doing the same thing. So the challenge from a business is, how do you differentiate your product from the rest of the robots? And that's why the Kawasaki robot caught my attention. Also, it's the Automate show. It's an excellent way to segue into the third segment of my 5-part series on the 5 essential pillars of starting, growing a business. Real quick review. The first one, you must have a market for your product or service. Number 2, you must accurately figure out your profit margin and guard your profit margin with your life. 3, and that's the one we're going to talk about today, is how easy is it to replicate your product or service? Now, this may seem like a strange question because you build one and you build another. The challenge comes around the complexity of your product or your service and how easy it is to replicate it. An example, back in my former life as a owner of a steel fab shop, we made items to customer prints, and they were usually one-off. So if the customer came back to us a couple of months later and wanted that same product, then we had to go through a job setup for each unit. So it was a little bit challenging versus where you set up the machine to run a job and you run as many as you can, as quickly as you can, and be as effective as you can in making that product. So you have to ask yourself, how easy or how difficult will it be to repeat my product or service in the marketplace? And that's where the robots came in. So you could employ a robot to make it a little bit easier. I'll give you an example. In my shop, we had a lot of welders, and we had some jobs that required just the straight welding of a product, same motion over and over again. So once we programmed the robot and got it set up, the robot would just weld up those parts as fast as we could feed them to the robot, as fast as it could make the weld, and as fast as we could take the parts away. So that leads us to the next pillar, which I'll discuss in my next video, but I'll name it right now, and that is scalability, which is a little bit different than repeating it, because you may have a product that is difficult to repeat, and it's going to be even more challenging to scale up and really take advantage of the economies of scale. So with that thought in mind, this is the third segment in our 5 essential pillars of starting and growing a business. So this is Jim Cendoma. Like and subscribe. Buy me a cup of coffee. Find me on LinkedIn. Ask me questions. Anything around the area of entrepreneurship, starting an industrial business, automation business, growing a business. Only too happy to help you.